Welcome everybody to today's role models talk. As you can see, we have our lovely guest today. I have it.
Hello.
Yeah, I don't know whether you're down there, but
I'm
for you.
below for me.
Um, but yeah, this will be a very exciting talk. As you know, Ollie is one of our facilitators here, but I'll go into that after I do a little bit of like the normal housekeeping. So just in case, I know that some of you who usually join our normal sessions probably know that this is like a slightly different kind of Zoom call. So we can't see or hear you. So you can, as I say usually, you can make some funny faces at us, you can chill out, you can, I don't know, watch us in the background while you're doing other things. We're just here to hang out and chat and, like learn about each other's journeys. Um, and if you want to interact with us, you can message us in the Zoom chat. And then we also have a Q&A section where you can put questions for us to like actually answer them. And usually we'll do that at the end of the session. But if any come up while we're kind of talking and they make sense for us to include, then we'll do that then. In case you haven't been to any of these before, these role model talks are, yeah, to kind of inspire you and show you everybody's kind of different journeys as a neurodivergent person, showcasing that, everybody goes through like different experiences. They have their own strengths, their own, like challenges, and we're all about kind of trying to show everybody that there isn't just one kind of like way for you to kind of make your way in this world. Oh, and yeah, just in case, you might have seen me before, you might not have seen me before. I am Mivy. I'm one of the facilitators at Uncommon. I also do a lot of this hosting thing as well. And yeah, I'm very excited to have my co-facilitator partner in co-facilitating today. Ollie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I am Ollie. Uh, as many of you know, I'm a facilitator here at Uncommon. I love playing games with you guys and doing other social stuff with you guys. And yeah, when I'm not at Uncommon, my primary thing is making games. Yep.
Clap, clap, clap. I see somebody saying clap, clap, clap in the chat. I agree. Yeah, so let's just get right into it. As I kind of ask all our guests, what was it? Could you tell us what it was like for you growing up neurodivergent?
Yeah, I would say when I was growing up, um, I always felt a bit of an kind of as an outsider looking in. Like a lot of my friends I had in school, especially, like there were people who I got on with, but for some reason there wasn't really like quite a click. Um, and I would say the alternative of that, because I did have some friends online when I was younger, and I found that I was able to express myself and talk to them a lot easily. And like looking back at it now, maybe it's because they were neurodivergent as well, and the people in my school wasn't so much. Um,
Yeah, I feel like, and I we kind of talked about this before. Um, there's also probably like it's difficult sometimes in kind of face-to-face conversation to find the space for you to like add something. I find sometimes, especially like meeting new people or at uni, I would sometimes be like, okay, I'm a listener. I at some point I'll say something about myself, but
yep.
with like online friends, especially just in chat, it's way easier to like actually say what you want to say because there's
Mm-hmm.
any kind of gap. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say the part of that that ties in for me is I feel that one of the ways I feel that ADHD manifests itself for me is that a lot of the times I'm like in my own head thinking about what I will say without just saying it. Mainly because I've been conditioned through kind of like social norms that if I was to like say the thing immediately as I thought it, then it
Mm.
wouldn't be like suitable, because it would be like, oh, I would be cutting someone off. But then, yeah, that just results in a lot of the times when I was younger, me like having something good to say, but then feeling like I've missed the opportunity to say it. So then that kind of is a bit of a cycle. of yeah, just me being in my own head too much, really. And that can
Yeah.
be pretty not good. Yeah.
Yes, it's really like tough to kind of self-silence yourself.
Mm,
And like I think it's such a common thing throughout these talks is like showing who you are attracts other people that are the same. And if you feel like you
mm,
can't do that, then like everybody's missing out on you.
yeah.
But then in the
Yeah.
moment it's so tricky to actually make sure that you're standing up for or like showcasing yourself because that's such a scary
That's a
thing
good
to
way of
do.
putting it. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. In terms of kind of I was about to say in terms of growing up young, uh in terms of growing up, what were things that you found like you were really good at and kind of like really enjoyed?
Mm. So my dad introduced me to computers at quite a young age, so I've always had quite good computer literacy when it comes to just like navigating a computer, um, and other kind of things that a lot of the times are taught in school, but I'd already kind of had foundational knowledge, especially as at that time it wasn't
Mm,
as it is now. Um, And then, yeah, I also really had some early experience with making games in a program called Game Maker, which I believe still exists now, but in a much different way to how I
mm,
knew it. And yeah, I have a very fond memory of towards the end of my primary school years of when I shared to my IT teacher that I had been making some games, and then she wanted to um, like show them and let the class like experience them. Uh, and then so I did that one day and I brought them on a USB stick, and then yeah, she thought that they were like so cool, I guess, that she put them on the school system. And then so everyone in my class was playing the games that I'd made. And they were asking me for like, oh, what's the best way to solve this level? I was showing them like secret techniques, secret areas. And yeah, that was like a really fond memory for me. Um, yeah, definitely impacted like me wanting to
mm.
become a game developer now. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's such a kind of that's one of those teachers that you'd have like I don't know, Robin Williams or Jack Black kind of playing where they actually like again showcase what a child is doing and also like reinforce,
Mm,
like a positive um like you this is like something that actually suits and fits you and like you're doing
mm,
really well with it. I think that's such a lovely memory because I think it's kind of rare for like I don't know that kind of thing to happen where there's so
mm.
many children and like it's difficult to like actually pay attention to all of them and that's really showing that somebody believed in you. I think that's the
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that is really nice. And I also grew up with computers. I was very proud of myself that I could always like touch type and everybody else was
Oh,
like
nice. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's certainly different when you don't have to look. It's very almost like expressive, you can get
exactly.
your thoughts straight out.
I'd feel like like some kind of mad writer like with a typewriter like that. I don't know. It's very fun. Um when you when did you start to kind of feel proud to be neurodivergent?
So, I would say it wasn't until I was even aware that I was neurodivergent. So that was for me quite a bit later than most. It was about, I'd say, second year of university. So much, a bit after school. Um, and yeah, that put a lot of things in perspective because I had a lot of kind of like self-doubt, self-shame, maybe even because, I was being told that I was lazy in certain areas and like, but internally I knew that I had 100% all the motivation and all the willpower, but just it wouldn't happen, you know?
Mm.
And yeah, that led to a lot of feelings of yeah, just like self-blame of like, no, like everyone else can do it, therefore it must be my fault. Um, but yeah, after I was diagnosed, it put everything in perspective, and luckily, the reason why I even went through the diagnosis process is because I'd managed to find some good friends who had already gone through it previously, and they were like of great support through that and gave me a lot of good advice. Um, and yeah, because I they were really like smart about it and well geared about it, so that and they were like, yeah, I mean, like you get on really well with us. We all have ADHD, so yeah,
Birds of a feather.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I have quite a similar kind of, I don't know, journey into that because I was also very like in the late diagnosed with uni. And yeah, again, it was thanks to a lot of friends who were kind of had gone through the process that sometimes would like pick up on things that I did and they'd be like, maybe you should look into this. Yeah, it was definitely again, I'd been surrounding myself with like lots of different people who all had one similar trait, which, you know, ultimately helped. But
Mm,
I very much relate to feeling kind of like trapped in your own mind sometimes where you know that you need to do something, but you can't get yourself to do it. And that's
mm,
very it's very difficult to like not take it
mm.
personally. If that makes
Yeah,
sense. Yeah.
yeah. Especially as, we have lots of different kind of internal voices who are all trying to do the best for us in some way. But then, your inner critic can be quite a strong one to silence, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Um, how did embracing these differences help you, like feeling better about yourself and also just kind of, I don't know, helping you on your, again, I'm going to use the word journey a lot, but journey.
Mm, mm. So, I think one of the biggest changes was like prior to my diagnosis, I had received an incorrect diagnosis of like having depression, and really that uh, depression was a symptom from my ADHD, not that I had depression. So it's like, and because of being diagnosed with depression, like I've always been like a very happy and upbeat person, but almost like from that of having like a person of like senior power or whatever be like, you have depression, then it was like internalized, and I was like, damn, that
Yeah.
really that's just part of who I am. But then so yeah, the ADHD diagnosis like flipped on that. It was like, that's completely wrong. And yeah, just yeah, made me like over time, especially just helped me gain a lot of confidence in myself, helped me find out like what are the best sort of approaches to kind of manage my ADHD. And yeah, that it's I'm now really proud of like that part of me. Yeah,
Mm.
for sure.
Again, super similar experience because I was also like diagnosed depression and anxiety. And I think again, once those kind of labels were given to me, it became like an all-consuming thing where I was like, oh, I'm depressed and that's why I always feel like this. And a lot of
Mm,
the time it was just because, you know, I had a lot of self kind of, I don't know, like blame and feeling like I wasn't as good as everybody else because I couldn't keep up with them. So I definitely completely relate to that. And I feel like a lot of other people probably relate to that too.
mm.
Um, yeah, it's tricky because labels are useful, but at the same time, they can very much then put you in a box
Yeah, yeah,
where you're like,
absolutely.
that is just me forever.
Yeah,
Um, Going on to a more kind of like, uh, I don't know, lighter note, I guess. How did you kind of find out what you love to do? I know that you've mentioned like a lot of early stuff with like your teacher kind of helping. Um, I wouldn't say inspire. I want to say like helping like add fuel to the kind of
Mm,
flame.
mm, mm. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so how did that kind of come about?
Yeah, so I mean, like that experience I talked about with my IT teacher and putting the games on the school system, that was not like now, that's almost like a core memory to me. But after that point, that was almost like forgotten, right? When I was growing up, I just did so many hobbies. I tried so many different sports, had so many different interests. And the whole reason why I decided to study computer science at university wasn't really because that was something I was like too crazy interested in. I just knew that I was pretty good at it and I had a bit of coding experience from just doing like different bits and bobs. Uh, Shout out Minecraft Redstone. Um, but then yeah, like there was just kind of a moment at throughout doing my computer science course that I kind of had this realization where um, gaming for me was the only interest that had never subsided with time. Everything else I'd started and quit and really never picked back up again. But gaming was like the one constant where since I was a child, I'd always loved games and I've always been playing games and I'm always trying to find like the new things that do things new, things that do things differently. And just, yeah, it's always been very exciting to me. So then, like, from that kind of realization, it was like, oh, well, I'm in a very unique position where I have all these experiences of games, and then that I can use that to make games for other people and to almost like re-carry on that
Mm,
cycle of like passion for games and also
mm.
trying to make things that like can't have been made before because they have to learn from what's been done previously. So yeah. Mm.
Yeah, I really like that. I think, yeah, games for me has also been just the way that I find ways to relate to people. Like when one of my friends has like a new boyfriend, I always like ask them what games they're into. And though we might not have a lot more in common, that's usually the way that I also, I don't know, I really like uh recommending games to people kind of based on their
Yep, same,
personalities.
same. Yeah.
It's just such a fun way to kind of get into their, I don't know, headspace a bit. And yeah, I think it's such a nice universal universal language with people.
Mm.
So yeah, I think that's really lovely. Um, how, I guess, kind of talking about friends, how did you go about kind of making friends and navigating social situations, especially as somebody, like you said, who's quite like shy and quite, I guess, internal?
Mm. So I would say that it was difficult for me, and I would say a lot of the times that I made friends online, is because we already have like the shared interest of whatever game we're playing. So that immediately like broke a barrier down. While um, I would always be thinking about what to say to someone, and then, almost like having dialogue trees in my head of like all the options I could say, and then by having so many options, like not picking any of them. Um, but then yeah, so I've gotten a bit better of that, mainly just by trying to focus on like being self-aware of that, and the goal is to just say something, not like about what I say, because it's about breaking the ice. It's about just saying anything to get the ball rolling and not about coming up with the most crazy, witty
Mm,
one-liner that like makes a person laugh or whatever. Um, but yeah, I mean, I still struggle with it for sure, and it's something that I'm like continually working on. And yeah, I think I guess the moment that kind of puts a lot of things in perspective in terms of like how far I've come from being like
mm,
almost so introverted that I wouldn't really talk to people at all is on my on the start of my master's course, really, I had a real goal of like, okay, I'm just gonna like put myself out there and just say like what I'm about, who I am, and just see if anyone like gravitates towards that and is interested in me, because then that makes it, just like an obvious friendship, right? Um, and yeah, I have some of my absolute best friends today from doing that experience. So yeah, I just fully recommend putting yourself out there, putting yourself in new situations, and yeah, then you're yet to find your best friends.
That's really nice. Yeah, I
Mm.
think it's so tricky. I feel like sometimes I'm kind of like a wait, like a one step forward, two steps back type thing where and I think you'll mention this, but like sometimes it's easier to do it when you're in like a uncomfortable, unknown situation rather than being in your comfort zone.
Mm,
Um
mm,
so like we met recently in like a real life situation,
mm,
and there I found it very tricky to get out of my comfort zone because I'd then only go to the people that I knew and then kind of meet people through that, which I think is valid. But it was also very tricky. But like when I first went to like university, I was completely like alone and I had to make friends. And there I just rely solely on like making a funny thing or even just like breaking the awkwardness with more awkwardness where I'd be like, nobody else is speaking. I'm gonna speak now. Yeah, it's such a I think it's a muscle that you have to like
mm.
hone, and sometimes it may weaken, but that doesn't mean that it's not there anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And like you said, there is nothing wrong with sometimes just um like seeking the comfort, of just being, like I'm not I'm not up to it right now. I just want like I know that I could go socialize with new people, but they wouldn't maybe they wouldn't be seeing like the best version of me.
Mm.
You're not that much energy. You don't have to force it. Um, but that being said, if you do persevere and you are more comfortable being uncomfortable, then yeah, you can meet a lot of awesome people and
Yeah.
yeah, have some great friends. Yeah.
Precisely, precisely. Going off that, for those who don't know, you will be bon voyaging soon and heading off to Japan. Could you tell us a little bit about that before we go more into that?
Mm. So obviously it's quite a big decision. So I guess I'll go into my headspace of why I made the decision, which was that I just spoke to a bunch of different people, um, not even necessarily friends, but just like adults who had been traveling when they were younger, and there wasn't a single person who I've talked to who like regretted it, said it was a bad time, or even said it was a neutral experience. Like they all had very positive things to say about it, and said that it helped grow them as a person in like you know different growth for different people. But I think it's about having the space for that growth. And I touched on it with friends about being comfortable, being uncomfortable. I'm almost deliberately choosing something that I know will be kind of tough, kind of uncomfortable for me. But that will help make me a more rounded person and more towards the person who I want to be. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's such a brave thing to do. My immediate thought is absolutely like for me, no. But it is like it's something that will become like a building block part of yourself because yeah, it's such a different experience. It's a new culture, it's a new place. I think it's, like it's definitely something that you must do, even though it's like, again, such an uncomfortable thing to put yourself in such a new situation.
Yeah,
How
absolutely.
how have you gone about like preparing yourself for that?
Mm. So, well, I guess just before I touch on that, I
Mhm.
should say why Japan? Um, so Japan for me has made some of my favorite games, so that makes it uh, an immediate pick there. But there's more to actually living in places than just work. And I would say Japan has one of the most kind of uniquely distinct cultures, um, that makes it very interesting to me, especially as I have holidayed to a bunch of different places that have really cool culture. But living is the step above just visiting as a tourist. And yeah, it just also has like lots of different aspects that I like cool architecture. I love anime. They have lots of different interesting things creatively, different styles of like live music. Yeah, just
And the food.
and the food. Yeah, don't get me started on the food. I could eat Japanese food all day long, mainly because there's so much variety to it. It's very hard to get bored. Yeah.
Mm. And it seems so much cheaper. I'm sure that's generalizing, but just from the videos that I watch, it always seems like so more readily available and cheaper. But that's a whole different thing.
No,
Um,
you are
so
right on the money with that. Yeah. It is very affordable to go and just eat out like every day in Tokyo compared to, in fact, it's often cheaper than making food yourself, which is like mind-boggling for
mm,
us as Brits, right?
I need some snacks for when I get
Right.
back for sure.
Sure, sure.
Um,
Don't worry. I'll get you.
how have you gone about preparing yourself? I know that
Yeah.
there's like, like language, there's reading and speaking the language, and yeah, just I guess the other kind of admin-y bits as well.
Yeah. So, yeah, language, first of all. Um, Looked into, I think I just started dipping my toes in with some YouTube videos, kind of doing some very general research. And then once I was more, yes, 100% that's what I'm doing, I immediately got a tutor and started doing that just once a week, then ramped up to 3 times a week, and I'm now 4 times a week. Um, and yeah, I also have a language learning app, um, that is very there's a certain kind of memory technique that it uses, that you know based on how well you've learned it, it shows you
Can
less.
you share the app with us?
Oh yeah, sure. It's called Renshu.
Oh,
I really
okay.
recommended it. You even get a little pet that levels up with you based on your learning progress, and yeah. And there's even every time you complete a little quiz, you get a little gacha where you just get a like an image and then what it's called in Japanese. So just helps you learn a little more, and it's just really fun.
That
Yeah.
is so
It's made with a
nice.
lot of love. So yeah.
Mm, yeah.
And then yeah, otherwise for preparation, I mean, yeah, if you're serious about learning something, I would 100% recommend a textbook, because that is, no matter like what field you're going into, what skill you want to learn, textbooks have the knowledge in them. Like, and if you work through it, you will come out the other side like more proficient, 100%. If you read a book, you might get some more understanding of it, but you know, uh, one of the best ways to like recall stuff is to almost like quiz yourself. And that's what textbooks do. They have the sections of like making you answer questions that, you know, almost kind of pointless in what they are asking you, because they might not have direct real world usage. You might be saying like, oh, uh, Sally's dog is on a chair or something, and then you that's a really bad example, but they might have things that you were like, I would never say this in real life, but it's not about that. It's more just the recalling what you've learned.
And the
uh,
structure as well, I
yeah,
guess. Yeah.
yeah, and the grammar. Oh yeah, and don't get me started on Japanese grammar, because it is the hardest language to learn as an English speaker. So there's 5 categories of language, where category 5 is I think it's 1,800. Don't quote me on, don't but it's the longest amount of hours. And then Japanese has a little asterisk next to it, and all the ones with the little asterisk say, um, oh, these ones might require more hours than ones in the same category.
Holy
So
moly.
yeah, objectively, it's the hardest language to learn as an English speaker. And maybe I didn't know what I was signing up for at the start, but hey, I'm locked
Hey,
in now.
yeah. This is a side question and super like not important, but I'm very curious. We now have, like Google Lens where you can just scan stuff and,
Oh yeah.
that would tell you exactly what it says. How do you feel like you'll be factoring that into like your travels, or are you just going to like really try and rely on your own kind of learning, or are you going to try and marry them together? Like how's that kind of how are those I don't want to say crutches, how are those
Mm.
like helping you?
Yeah, so I'd say that's a really great point, and I mean I can already see it going in a similar way to how I use kind of Chat GPT when it comes to programming, which was at first when it kind of came along and was a really cool tool. I was like, wow, it can write programming for me. So then sometimes I would do that and kind of shortcut, but then I would never really get anything out of the process. Like I wouldn't
Mm,
learn anything. So I think I would use it now how I use ChatGPT for programming now, which is I ask it questions in a kind of learning way, as almost as if it's a teacher. So I ask like, okay, given this problem, how would you or like explain this thing to me like I'm 12 years old? That's a great one. And then it will
mm,
nearly always get a better explanation of something that you can just find online. So yeah, probably use Google Lens in sort of the same way where I won't I won't just go into like a restaurant and look at a menu and just immediately Google Lens it. I will try my best to look at everything and then try and use, maybe some logic of, oh, I know that one kanji, but I don't know this word. So then have kind of educated guess. And then, yeah, maybe after that point, use Google Lens and be like, was I right? Or
mm.
this one I was wrong on. So commit that to memory. Um, yeah, really good question.
Thank you, thank you. I will continue talking about this, but just in case if anybody has any questions for Ollie, then you can put them in the chat, or there's the Q&A bit as well, which helps kind of us see them. We've already had one question, which I still have in mind, but yes, we will continue speaking about this. Um, so this is such a like blunt question, but do you feel ready? Because it's coming up super, super soon.
Mm, yes. Well, if I said yes, I would be lying. And also, the common consensus I've seen online is there's never a point where you're truly ready. So to me, it's just really the case of like just doing my best, just try and give it my all in the time that I have. And then when I'm dropped into it, and I take the plunge, uh, I will no doubt make some mistakes. I will 100% embarrass myself. I'll feel like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. But that's just a part, that's just a part of the learning experience. And the way that I see it is every time something like that happens, there'll be the mistake that kind of originated it. That will never happen again because it will
Mm,
be almost like etched so hard into my mind of like I can never make that mistake again or I'll feel so silly. Um, so yeah, I think that yeah, ultimately that's the fastest way to learn. I do think there's such thing as like being too underprepared.
mm,
But I think that would be like me saying, "Oh, I'm going to Japan in 2 weeks," and then and I'll put in just maybe an hour a day. I think you could maybe even do it in 2 weeks if you every single day was like your entire existence was like, I'm just going to learn the basics of Japanese. I think you could
mm.
probably do it. and you would be just ready enough so that you're not going underprepared. But yeah.
That sounds a little bit too intense for me.
Yeah, I would not do that. I would not do that.
So, okay, we do have one question which we'll get to in a sec, but one thing I again wanted to touch upon is, like you said, you kind of are an introvert, and I feel like there's a lot of energy that goes into just being, but also especially when you'll be putting yourself out there quite a lot in an unfamiliar environment. I think you mentioned
Mm,
that you'll be like in a kind of house share, so maybe you'll have less kind of privacy, especially as you currently like live alone. Um, how are you going to go about kind of managing your own well-being and then also kind of having we're going to say failure is not failure, but like failure feeding into that, and yeah,
mm.
how are you going to go about that?
Yeah, so I think I would be more worried. So this was part of the reason why I chose a share house, was because I think I would be more worried about being socially isolated. And the main thing of, with the embarrassing story or whatever, you need to be able to tell that story to someone, right? Otherwise, um, you know, you're gonna have a lot of internal kind of doubt, right? And yeah, I think just having a healthy social network will be the thing that manages my emotional well-being the most.
Mm.
So yeah, I've deliberately picked a share house that is they don't really kind of let people, just anyone in. You almost have to kind of meet their standards, and they're very like, they want people to be proactive about communication, and actually be engaging with the rest of the house and not being like a hermit.
Hmm.
Um, and then so in combination with that, I will be, looking for English speaking people in the area, and maybe just an English speaking community of people, so that, you know, when I'm, especially in that pre-period of where I'm not too comfortable just speaking in Japanese, that I do have an outlet. I
Mm.
mean, I still do have my friends online, but the time zone difference might be quite hard to make regular contact with them. And then, yeah, find some people who have the same work-related interests who speak English as well, because I think that would be a big part of it. Just being able to talk all things game development with them will be very, very refreshing. And it's
Mm.
also something that I've been meaning to do while I've been living here. So if anything, that will be a good like push to do that more. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that sounds really nice. And I think that's such a healthy and kind of smart way to go about it. And, like I really appreciated the way that you're like talking about this because again, like I said, for me, this is very much like if I were to be in that situation, I'd be freaking out. But it even just hearing you talking about it about your own plans, it's like, oh, maybe it isn't so like catastrophizing if I were to plan like a shorter trip like this. So I think
Mm,
that's a really nice thing that I'm going to take away from today's chat.
that's really
Um
good. I'm really happy to have given you that perspective. And I
yeah,
would also I
definitely.
would also say, this has been a decision that has had certainly had more question marks at the start. Like the longer that it's been cemented has been the longer that I've been able to ask questions and, speak to my friends, especially, um, and my mum as well. She's been giving me lots of good insight because I would be like, oh yeah, I mean, I think she was one of the big, uh, I was like, I could live by myself or I could do a share house. And then she was like, I'm worried about you, living by yourself in a place where, you don't speak the same
Mm.
language. And I was like, you know what? That's valid. Good job, mum.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a lot of the things that, maybe I seem very, very like surefire right now is just because, I've had a lot of time to think about it and ask the questions already to myself.
Yeah, I think it also is, especially, like the whole you never feel ready properly thing that I definitely still struggle with, even just like in a motivational sense, like sometimes I don't have the motivation to do something and really I should like sometimes I just need to do it and maybe I'll get the motivation after that. And I
Mm,
think for this as well, it's like sometimes you're not ready and like once you're there you're just in there. Like
mm,
you can't still be like, oh gosh, I have to be in there and I'm like doing it. And maybe sometimes
mm.
that is a what you need in that moment to help you get used to being in there. I keep on saying imaginary there, but you get what I mean.
No, yeah, 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 100%. And I feel you touched on something really interesting, which is something that I try and help my friends with, is that I feel that should is actually a very toxic word,
I knew it.
okay?
I knew you'd bring this up. I heard me saying should too many times.
And it's whenever I bring it up, it's never because, like I wanna police someone else's language or like want to make a fool out of them. It's because our brains are really good at like creating this kind of justification for something that like if we keep saying should will never happen. So it's about every time, this is just a piece of advice I'd give to anyone. If you catch yourself saying, "Oh, I should do this," then change it to either "I will do this,"
Mm,
like right now, "I will plan a time for this," or actually, no, I've got enough stuff on my plate. I would like to do it at some point in the future, but I'm not gonna say should, right? And by breaking that down into either three categories, then you're either doing it now and it's getting done and you're happy. You've either planned an exact time for it in the future, so you know it will get done, so you're happy, or you accept like, nah, actually, it's not actually that important, and you're happy. So there's no regret. No regret.
as you now know me pretty personally, I have been called out multiple times in this talk.
It's not true.
So too true. Yeah, but no, I definitely think that's such good advice for somebody other than me to take. And yeah, it definitely helps the like swarming, like the buzzing in the brain of the shoulds,
Yep,
which I think
yep.
definitely impact, the way that I am when I'm just being. It's a lot of like
Mm.
inner turmoil. Turmoil's a big word. I mean, but yeah, I think that's such great advice. But I'm going to move on to some a Q&A, mostly to get the attention of me. Uh, so could you talk to us more about becoming a game designer? And
Oh,
also, slash, what is your favorite game engine? Which is something somebody asked earlier.
oh, okay. Um, okay. Let's do game engine first. My favorite game engine has got to be Godot 4 because even though it's something that I have the least experience in out of all the game engines I've tried, just the like where it is now and the current trajectory and how things in it often just make sense. Uh, I really love, and I'm a big fan of things that are open source, where anyone can contribute to it, and that you can if you wanted to, you could go in and see every line of code that makes the program. In other words, like there's nothing to hide, and it's not for money. It's for passion. It's because people are making it because they really love making games. And so, almost by being on Godot as well, you're part of that like love for games. So yeah, if I was to recommend a game engine to get into, it would be Godot. Yep.
You heard it here first, folks. Yeah.
But then yeah, so talking about becoming a games designer. So I'm definitely my so I do programming, right? And that's one of my disciplines. But I would say my number one thing that I like care the most about is being a designer. The the struggle with being like just a games designer is that there's very little positions in the industry for just being a game designer. And that's mainly because of that it it's hard to prove your credentials as a designer. You know, you almost need to have like uh made games with a team where like only you can do the design, or you need to have made games by yourself. And if you make games by yourself, most of the times you need other skills other than designing. And I would also say that the way that you get like an eye for designing is just by playing games. I would say the only reason I'm as good as a game designer as I am now is because of the sheer volume of games that I've played. So, parents, I can't really necessarily fully recommend that, but yeah, all I would recommend is like if that is something that you're really passionate about, I would just say, try and think of what is your like if you had to pick a second skill in games, what would your accompanying be? Like what would you offer as well as being a designer? So could you be an artist as well as a designer? Could you do as well as just game design, could you do level design as well? Could you also do the programming, you know? Um, I think or, can you make your own game? There's lots of different software that means you don't have to do every part of the process. So for example, like RPG Maker is a great game engine for if you want to make an RPG. And there's also some great games that use RPG Maker that kind of break the constraints a bit and make it less like you would expect an RPG Maker game to be. Um, but then often those use some programming uh, strategies that but yeah, it's a whole thing. There's so many different ways to get into making games. And ultimately it's really difficult. And that's like one of the biggest things I would say about making games is just don't expect it to be easy. And so you get this a lot of people who go to university who pick up like games designing, games production, anything that's a games related university degree.
Mm.
And they just think that their life will be like playing games and it's like a walk in the park basically. But games are probably one of the most kind of like underrated, underappreciated mediums that can, in my opinion, achieve higher artistic level than like other mediums, mainly because of the element of interaction with the art itself. Um, and yeah, you have to account for a player being able to do a whole variety of choices when in a movie it's just like linear. Uh,
Yeah, I think sorry, Ollie,
no, yeah,
while
you're
you're
good.
thinking about that, I also do a bit of work in the games industry. I'm more in the like community management stuff, and also some content stuff. And from my, I don't know, the things that I see, I'd recommend possibly looking into game jams, which are quite useful, uh, kind of, I don't know, they're like challenges where, for like 48 hours, sometimes a week, sometimes a couple of months, you can try and like team up with other people making games, or by yourself, and you'll have like a theme sometimes. And Ollie's done a couple of these as well. And those are very good for kind of trying to get your skills up, and each time it's a different challenge, and then it's also putting stuff into your portfolio. I'm sure we can literally have a whole other talk about this because it's such like
Absolutely.
a it's such a big topic for sure. In the chat, I have put a link to another company that I work for. I've gone rogue, where they do a lot of talks about entry-level skills into the games industry. A lot of it is focused more on 18 plus people, so not really kind of school age, but they do occasionally have workshops for people slightly younger. But I think it's a lot about kind of like, again, it's like the language stuff, like immersing yourself, like trying to add different tools to your belt. Because I think games design is such a, like Ollie said, like it's an umbrella topic of course, there are game designers, just game designers, but there's level designers, there's like economy designers, there's the
Um,
communications, there's the marketing, there's the art, there's the music, there's so many different things. So you can find what you really like and also have like a few other strings to your bow as well.
yeah.
Again, I fully went rogue there.
No,
But
no, no, you're good, and
yeah.
really good of you mentioning game jams because yeah, like I said, uh, it's a when I said that you need to either make games in a team or make games by yourself, that is one of the best ways to get experience of working in a team because game jams are always very friendly environments where people are just happy to be working on a game, and I've met some really great people from doing game jams. Um, I would also just like to add, like, don't be off put just by me saying it's difficult, If you if you set your expectations, then, and know that it will be hard, then you can find like a lot of reward in the process. Because I mean, I just don't think that like anything in life that is easy to do is like particularly worth doing. Like everything that we can think of, well, easy example, okay? Winning a gold medal at the Olympics, okay? In anything you want, okay? That's not easy, okay? That's not easy in the slightest, okay? That's hard. That is hard work. But everyone who's done it and won a gold medal, I'm sure they're like, that is something that I'm like monumentally proud about. And yeah, much like that, games is the same.
Mhm.
It's really tough. It's tough work. People underestimate how difficult things are. You know, players often never satisfied. They're like, oh, we want more features, we want more things in the game. And it's like, okay, yeah, well, that would take like 3 months. Oh no, but we
Mm.
want it now.
I think,
Um,
sorry to cut you off there, but I think a lot of it is just done for the love of loving games,
yeah.
if that makes any sense. Like a lot of people in the industry do it because they love games, even though it's very tough. And if you want to do it, I think the main thing is, like Ollie said, just making sure that you are multifaceted and you have like a couple of different skills. Not too many, like don't start burning yourself out for sure, but like, you can do like coding and then maybe you can also have like a little bit of audio or something. Or like, just immerse yourself. Yeah, definitely learn around the topic for sure. Um, but I believe in you.
Yes, we believe in you. You got
Yes.
it. If you want
Yes,
to make games,
definitely.
you can do it.
Yeah, and then I'm this is now like in my head for we can try to do like a gamers special talk or something at some point. And I'm always both of us and Elliot also has some knowledge in this topic as well. We're all very happy to try and share some knowledge with people. And then Ollie, I think you also do tutoring.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, I
yeah,
do. I do games design or game development tutoring with Godot,
yeah.
with Uncommon. So if you're
Not
interested
to
in that,
plug,
then
just because it's there. Yeah, yeah, definitely. We're all very passionate about trying to get people into the industry that we love as well, for sure. Okay, final question, or we have like 5 minutes. I'm going to use this question as the final question, but if anybody else has any final questions, go ahead and send them. But yes, Ollie, what is your favorite part about working at Uncommon?
ooh, that's a really great one. I would say it's a combination of two things. Okay, firstly, my amazing colleagues, like Mivy, like Elliot, like Kirsten. like
Hmm.
Rebecca, like Megan. Um, everyone, like just the fact that everyone is neurodivergent immediately from like the moment I started working here was like such a breath of fresh air because I knew there wasn't any kind of social expectations expected of me. Communication was always very straightforward, and I felt like whenever there was miscommunication that happened, it's never. I felt in a normal business or corporate setting, it's immediately like, oh, there was malicious intent, like why didn't you communicate that better or such? But no, just there's a really great understanding that we guys have, which makes us function really well as a team. And then, yeah, the second, or that's the second favorite part. And now my favorite part is, yeah, just getting to interact with you guys. Like, uh, I love playing games, but it's even better playing with games with people who also love playing games. Like, I've had
Hmm.
so much fun in our Minecraft server, in our Roblox sessions. Um, yeah, and just like you guys always surprise me with like interesting perspectives on things, like new kind of like pop culture things that I didn't know about before. And yeah, it's just always so much fun. So thank you guys for also being a part of Uncommon.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty much it with me as well. I think it's such like a you guys are so funny. There there are just so many things
True.
you say that just make us laugh and they definitely stick with us. And yeah, I think it's so fun sometimes to just think that we're just able to play games with you guys and also have you like teach us how to play some games that we might not be used to. And like, also seeing like the friendships that you've been making with each other is always really, really lovely to see. And yeah, just also getting to know lots of different neurodivergent people who, like even today, I've been saying to Ollie that a lot of your story has been quite similar to mine. And just many things like that where it feels like you're not as alone as you are. And yeah, I think it's such a lovely place for us all to be. So thank you everyone so much. Um, yeah, and
Absolutely.
on that, basically, thank you so much, everyone, for coming and listening to us and asking us questions. And thank you, Ollie, as well, for like just chatting with us for like basically an hour. It's been very, very fun.
It's been great.
Um,
I
yeah,
hope I was able to give some good perspective on something to someone. So yeah,
100%. I think there's so many things that a lot of us can take from today. And yeah, like I said, I think it'd be really cool to try and get like you, Elliot, and whoever else wants to like for us to do like a game fully like related one.
mm.
Um, so yes, thank you so much, everyone, and we'll see you at various times of the week. Yes, lovely. Thank
Thank you
you.
so
Thank you,
much,
everyone.
guys.
Cool. Bye.
Bye. See
Bye bye.
you. Bye bye.
Bye.